Welcome to our fifth, and you'll be glad to know, our final episode in common paramotoring mistakes. And this episode, we're talking about landing. As we know, takeoff is optional, but landing is compulsory. A lot of people just come in and stack it, okay? And what we're going to try and do is understand why that happens, okay? Or better to say, how do we better prepare for landing? Now, the first thing you're going to want to have is a windsock, okay? But without a windsock, there are still many ways to determine which way the wind is coming from. I've covered that in the previous film. There are 4 points of the compass, using gaggle, looking at other telltale signs, and to be able to basically gauge which is your slowest point over the ground. In order to verify that your landing area is suitable, you're going to do a flyby. And as you can hear in the background, that's exactly what this pilot has done. He's done a flyby, he's looked at the windsock, he's assessed any obstacles on the ground, he's worked out his approach patterns, you know, downwind, base leg, final, okay, and then he's committed to the landing. At no stage has he just come in and winged it. So you have to prepare. If you fail to prepare to landing, prepare to fail it. The beauty of paramotoring is we have the ability to abort our landing and go around again. Unlike paragliders, you have one shot at it. So if in doubt, power up, go round and repeat the whole procedure, but get it right. And only kill the engine when you're confident that your landing is going to be a good one. So we're ready to come in, we're happy with our landing area. The first thing we're going to do is just make sure that our trimmers are set to the right setting for our landing. We're also going to make sure that we're out of the seat. And you want to get out of the seat high, okay? How high is high? Depends on experience level. But I personally, and I've been flying 20 years, like to get out of my seat at no lower than 50 foot. Because I like to get comfortable, I like to move the legs around, and especially if it's been a long flight. Common mistake that people make is because they haven't used their legs, they don't work anymore. You've been flying for 2-3 hours, you actually need to get them out and shake them about and get the blood flowing back into them. So get out, do everything high. Height equals time equals safety, okay? Object fixation. See it a lot, people flying into an object and just going more and more like a moth to the flame towards that object which they do not want to fly into. The same applies if you want to have a spot landing, you look at it, okay? But if you want to not crash into your car or your children, look away from them. Okay, look away and turn away, and do it gradually. You don't need to slam it on because you've prepared high. Everything's happening and with loads of time. Okay, it should never be rushed. The same applies when you kill the engine. Kill the engine high. If you're a confident pilot and you have ability, you can make sure you idle the engine high. But what we don't want to be doing is coming in gradually, and then dumping the power and finding we pitch into the ground, or coming in with power on, power off. All of these things are common mistakes. People coming in with a lot of roll, a lot of pitch, all of which can be ironed out by having time and height in order to prepare. Out the seat, kill the engine, let the glider fly. Look at where you want to land, look away from the objects which you do not want to fly into. Get one leg in front of the other. Different paramotors have different setups, and you might find that actually getting another leg ahead allows you to weight shift on one side and compensate for the anti-torque, okay? This makes everything a little bit more sensitive. And as we know, with different gliders, they have different landing approaches. Some, like a standard paraglider, is just going to be a feel of the brake, roll, and a full flare, okay, as low as we can go at about 2.5–3 meters above the ground. Others, reflex gliders, want to come in with speed, okay, at which point we let the glider dive. We can even pitch the glider in, for those who are more experienced, and generate this swoop, two-stage flare technique. Yet again, there's a video somewhere which you can look at all about this. However, we need to practice this. We need to practice it high, and we need to get to know our glider. So it would be hands up, let the glider dive, bit of both brakes to approximate the ears, at which point the wing will start to track, and then we bury the rest. And you can see everything is symmetrical and my body weight's going forward. Common mistake is people flaring asymmetrically, which is effectively turning and crashing into the ground, normally because they're looking at the ground, they're not looking ahead, and they start to panic. Or they are releasing the brake because, oh, I'm going back up, okay, and now what's going to happen? We're going to get pitch pendulum. Or they've bled off too much speed, okay, and when they get to the final punch, okay, the push and the pull and the push, they haven't generated enough energy to just land gracefully. Instead, they land like a sack of potatoes. So as we're coming into land, our legs are ahead of us, we do a symmetrical flare into wind, and we need to run. The number of times I see people who just go, I'm on the ground, they lean back and they fall over, or they don't even attempt to run. So we have to maintain forward momentum. And that's why having your chest, your chin ever so slightly further forward over your chest strap here maintains that forward momentum, okay, keeps your center of gravity going forward and allows you to run. So run on landing. Once you've landed, done a perfect landing on your feet, okay, the landing isn't over yet. You've still got a glider above your head. Common mistake, people forget about this. They're so excited, yeah, I've landed on my feet, that they ignore the fact that they've got a spinning propeller and a hot exhaust and a wing which still needs to be controlled, and it comes down right on top, okay, and now you've created a load of damage which you could have avoided. So we flare, and depending on the wind, we have multiple options here. If it's a light wind, we could stall the glider behind us. If we got a bit of breeze, we can actually ground handle the glider, and the ideal situation is to put the wing off to one side. Okay, so we look at the wingtip, oh, which way is it going? It's going right, and you just help it down and you turn your back so that the propeller and the exhaust and the cylinder head cannot cause any damage to your glider, okay? Finally, we now need to gather up our equipment. We've landed, the wing is on the ground. The first thing we should do is gather up our wing. And the reason we do this is if we're on a cross-country flight, it indicates to anyone that we're flying with that we're safe, we're under control, we can actually gather up our glider. If a glider's just laying there and I'm looking from 2,000 feet down, I might think that that pilot's injured and I might think that I need to go and rescue them. So the first thing you should do is ball up your glider. Now, common mistake is to now chuck this thing over your shoulder, at which point it melts on the cylinder head, okay? So either pick up the glider as much as you can and lift it up off the ground, okay, and try not to tread on it as you're walking, or unclip, put the lines through the fabric of the wing, and then take your paramotor off the flying site and then come back and get your wing. And that prevents any damage. All our equipment's now off the field. However, it's got damp because of the ground, the dew, or you just stuck in the puddle. You need to dry it out, okay? Do not put your glider away like so many people have in your garage and then forget about it, because by the time you come back in the next flying window, 2 months later, if you're English, it will have grown mushrooms, okay? And you are almost gonna have to throw that entire wing away. And it's very demoralizing to find a moldy wing. So dry it out, make sure that it's put back dry so you don't have the same misfortune that other people have had in the past. That concludes our 5th and final episode of common paramotoring mistakes. Please, as before, add any comments you would like, because this is all about sharing and improving safety in this fantastic sport. In the meantime, stay safe and safe landings.